Hey, and welcome to another Tech Tuesday. This is Chad from Ascension Worship, and this week we're talking about vocal EQ.
Hey, what do you say? Yes, it's that time again. It's Tech Tuesday.
So I've gotten a lot of requests to do different EQ videos, and I figured a great way to start would be vocals, since every church is going to have at least one. So today we're going to be looking at a live recording that we did recently, and I'm going to show you just some general guidelines of how I would EQ it, especially with like a live mixer. So I'm going to try and reduce myself to only having what most mixers are going to have. So we'll have a high pass filter or low cut. We'll have up to 4 bands of of EQ to work with. Excuse me. And just try and keep it real simple. So we're using a recording we did a few months back, a live recording with a male vocalist on a Shure SM58 wireless mic. We're in a gymnasium with about halfway filled with a very nice loud sound system with several subwoofers. So there's a lot of low end going on. And there's a full band with drums and bass. So you're going to see that all that kind of comes into some of the decisions we're going to do today. Again, these are just guidelines, so your church is going to be different if any of those factors are different, but this is a good place to start. So listening to the vocal, here's what we have with no EQ going on. This is just a flat vocal.
And your name, Jesus, we love it. Your name, there's none above it. Your name in all the earth. Yeah.
So not a bad start, but immediately I can hear, I'm listening to a system with subs, and if you have headphones on or computer speakers, you can probably hear there's a lot of rumble going on in the microphone. I can clearly hear the kick drum going and a little bit of the bass, and that just really messes the vocal up. It makes it, just kind of not really sit in the mix very well, and it makes the other instruments like the kick and the bass smeared sounding in the whole mix. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to just cut that out. So I'm going to turn on my my high pass filter or low cut. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank it up really high so it's obvious that it's working. It's going to make him sound like he's coming through a telephone. And then we're going to back it down until we find the sweet spot where, he's got a little bit of his, low end back, but it's not all that rumble junk going on. So let's take a listen to that.
And your name, Jesus.
So cranked up, and let's back it down.
Above it, your name in all the earth. Yeah.
So I like it about there. That's cranked up pretty high. I got it set to 180 hertz. But that's going to keep his vocal from coming through the subs. It's going to keep all that other junk from coming through his vocal mic. To kind of give you an idea of what we've cut out, if this is a new concept to you, I've set up a low pass filter or high cut that's going to cut everything from 180 hertz up. So if you have, again, a system that can handle this, you're going to just hear a lot of low rumble stuff going through. This is what we just cut out of his microphone. So really muffled sounding vocal, and then all that kick and bass stuff in there that we just don't need. So this is really important. If you do this alone, you're immediately going to get a cleaner mix, especially if you have multiple vocals. If you have 4 or more vocals, this is going to immediately, again, clear up all those and make the low end stuff sound better. Very good way to start. So on top of this, again, we're just trying to make this vocal sit on top of the mix more. My next step is I'm going to probably just give it a little bit of a top end boost. So for that, I'm going to use my high shelf. I have set this to be like a lot of older analog boards. If you have like a Mackie, this is going to be set about the frequency that those start at, which is 6.3K or 6,300 hertz. So I'm going to boost this up, and you should hear more clarity come into his voice.
And your name, Jesus, we love it. Your name, there's none above it. Your name Your name in all the earth. Yeah.
So I'm doing that around 6.5 dB. And you hear he's got more air coming out, so like the sound of his breath, and just more clarity. You can understand him a little bit better. And again, this is going to sit on top of the rest of the band really well. Now, my next step is I'm going to start again cutting out things. You want to do mostly cuts. My high shelf is usually my one time I might do a boost on a vocal. So we want to start cutting out the things that we don't need. So first thing I'm going to do is, because I did that high shelf, you will notice that he will have a little bit more pronounced S's than he had before. His voice isn't too bad, but on a lot of female voices, you're going to have a lot of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do seek and destroy. I'm going to take my, what would be my high mid frequency. I'm going to boost it up. I'm going to find where his S's and his, just the harshness of his voices up in that, S range, S's and T's and that kind of thing. I'm going to find that, focus in on it, and then cut it down.
And your name, Jesus, we love it.
So probably right around there. That's 5,900 hertz. But if I take that down right now, I'm going to cut out a lot of his overall clarity, because you can see it's a very wide peak that we have right now. So I'm going to take my Q and make it a narrower width, somewhere around there. And we'll listen to that again, try and find his S's a bit more, and then we'll start to cut those frequencies.
And your name, Jesus, we love it.
All right, let's turn it down below the line.
And your name, Jesus, we love it. Your name, there's none above it.
I'll probably go right around there. That's about 7.5 dB being cut down. You'll notice that my two EQs here are kind of interacting with each other. And I think that's completely fine. I find it's very musical, because you're getting kind of the best of both worlds. I now have more clarity in his voice, but I'm using my other EQ to cut down on the things that I don't want, in this case being the S's. Now, you can also use a de-esser that we talked about a few weeks ago, but if your board doesn't have a de-esser, or you don't want your de-esser to work quite as hard, this is a good technique just to kind of cut down some of that. My next step that I would generally do, especially in a live room, is you're usually going to have some sort of muffledness that's a little bit higher than what your low cut frequency is at. So if you do your low cut too far up, it's going to start to sound really thin. You don't want to get rid of all the bottom end from his voice. What we would do want to find is where it kind of sounds like this, where it kind of sounds muffled. So again, we're going to do seek and destroy. I'm going to boost what would be my low mid frequency, and I'm going to find where he sounds boxy, and then cut that just a few dB.
And your name, Jesus, we love it. Your name, there's none above it. Your name is...
So I've got that around 250 hertz, and we're just going to cut it a few dB here.
And your name, Jesus, we love it. Your name, there's none above.
Now, I've already cut quite a bit with my low cut, so I don't want to do a whole lot, but I've at least found the frequency. And now, once he starts going with the full band later on, if I feel like there's just a lot of low mids happening with everything, I've at least got that frequency found, and I can take more out later on. So generally, this would be where I would start my EQ. I'm going to show you a couple other frequencies in just a moment here, but let's just take a second, and I want to turn on and off this EQ and let you hear what's going to happen here. So this is what we had, and then while I'm playing it, I'll turn it back to the non-EQ'd version. You can hear everything that we've done with just these few boost and cuts here.
And your name, Jesus,
so with EQ,
we love it. Your name, there's none above it. Your name in all the earth. Yeah. And every knee bow down before you. Every heart say we adore you. Your name in all the earth. There's mercy.
So you can hear, especially if you have a sub on, the biggest difference here is that low end being cut out. The only real boost that we have going on is that we're just boosting a little bit of top end. It should sit nice in a mix. Once you actually get this all going with your full band, then you can kind of take some of these decisions and kind of boost them or cut them a little bit more to make sure that it fits into with whatever you've got going on. So those are my general go-tos. Low cut a little bit of the low mids out where it sounds kind of nasally like this. Sorry, not nasally, kind of boxy. And then high shelf to boost a little bit of the top end. And then if you find that after doing that, you've got too much S's going on, then you can use your your high mid to cut those frequencies out. So real quick before we go, I just want to show you a couple other common frequency problems that we have going on. If I didn't say these, usually between 5 and 7K is where your S's are going to be around. And then your low mid boxiness is usually going to be somewhere between 200 and 400 hertz. Some of your other problems are going to be between 400 and 500. A lot of times this will sound kind of like the voice is kind of far away. To me, it sounds like if you had a stage monitor that was very loud, a speaker facing away from the crowd, and the back of the speaker just kind of sounds like it's muffling. So I'm going to boost that up and let you hear. This is about 450 hertz. Sounds like this.
And your name, Jesus, we love it. Your name, there's none of.
If it sounds kind of honky sounding, I would call it. That's usually going to be around 1K, 1,000 hertz. That sounds like this.
And your name, Jesus, we love it. Your name, there's none above it.
And then finally, if you have a lot of harshness going on, especially if there's a lot of vocals happening, or maybe a microphone that's not incredibly high quality, that's going to usually be between 2K and 4K, somewhere in there. So that sounds like this.
And your name, Jesus, we love it. Your name, there's none above it. Your name.
Here at 3K, he's kind of real piercing sounding. Here's 4K.
And every knee bow down before you. Every heart say we adore you.
So when you do these things, don't over EQ. Know where these issues are and kind of just pick and choose what's the main issue with this vocal. What's causing feedback? What's causing it to fight with other instruments? What's causing it to fight with other vocals? So again, if you have like a lead vocal, you want him or her to cut through really well. So if you have a bunch of backing vocals, cutting out between 2 and 4K will help the kind of hide those vocals in the mix a little bit so that they blend underneath your lead vocal. But when in doubt, zero it out. If you're not sure that your EQ is helping, it's better that you have it be flat and just really focus on the problem areas. And again, low cut to get rid of all the low end rumble and nastiness that doesn't need to be there. Clean up the vocals, clean up those low end instruments. A low mid cut somewhere around 200 hertz to get rid of the boxiness. A top end boost using a high shelf. Doesn't have to start at 6.3K, excuse me, but that's where a lot of boards do. And then if you need to get rid of some S's, usually between 5 and 7K is going to be a good area on there. So finally, one last time, again, we started with this.
And your name, Jesus, we love it.
And then with the basic EQ, we ended with this.
And your name, Jesus, we love it. Your name, there's none above it.
Hope it's been helpful for you. We are going to be doing more of these videos. If there's certain ones that you'd like to request, you can do so at TechTuesday at ascensionworship.com. And until next time, have a great week. Again, this is Chad from Ascension Worship. I hope this has been helpful for you and your team. Come back here every Tuesday for new information.